2,000 people. Pretty amazing opportunity there. So that's day 6. Day 7. Today is another performance day, either parade or professional Australian football game. Now, I wanted to do this, and one of the things I talked to the organizers about was with our other performances outside of the concert hall of the Sydney Opera House. I wanted to be sure that we didn't exclude our color guard members just by the nature of the trip. I did not want to exclude the color guard members from this trip, and the color guard won't be involved as a performer in the Opera House. And so I said, what can we do to make sure that we give those folks an equal opportunity as well? And he said, there's all kinds of things. Of course, at the host school, the third performance is a combined performance of some kind at the host school. We can make that look however we want to. And so we'll involve the color guard there. But he said, what's a great idea is, he said, we've done this before, but there's a professional Australian football team. And I don't know, it's either rugby or Australian football. There's both. I don't know which one it is. It's not our football. But they have, basically in Sydney, there's a professional football team. Their mascot are the Fearsome Rabbits. Go Mighty Fighting Rabbits. But anyway, the team is actually owned, it's part owned by Russell Crowe. So if you're familiar with, Miss Pruitt's loving Russell Crowe. If you're familiar with Russell Crowe, he's one of the owners of the team. He's there sometimes. And so the organizers of this festival have a relationship with the football team, and they have had groups go and perform there too. And that's normally a performance for 17,000, 18,000 people, something like that. And that would be some type of marching performance. Now, it wouldn't be the type of marching performance that you're accustomed to seeing at the football game here for a lot of reasons. It'll be a little more scaled down because we can't take all of that stuff in the corner. It doesn't go to Australia. So it's on a little bit more of a scaled down thing. It also doesn't have yard lines every 5 yards, and the field is probably oval. So this is a couple of obstacles though. But you know, there's another thing that I talked to other directors that have done, and I talked to a few that were able to do this. They said it was great. They said the people that were involved, the management of the football team involved, are wonderful in accommodating what we need. And really, the way that it's set up there is very different than the way it's set up here for professional sports. If you think of baseball here, and we've got the major leagues, and then we've got the 3 levels of the minor leagues, all associated with one team, but they're all in separate cities. The same thing happens there, except they're all associated in the same city. And so the way that a game day there would typically be set up is you've got, this is not their terms for it, but you would basically have like the JV, and then, you know, like the freshman, the JV, and the pro league. So you've got your 3 levels, all 3 playing in the same stadium on the same day. And so there's probably multiple performance opportunities that day there. Now, of course, this far out, we don't know if the Mighty Fighting Rabbits are playing at home or away. And so if the situation arises, this is definitely the first choice. If it doesn't fit, if their schedule and our schedule don't fit, then in terms of marching performance, to give the color guard opportunity to be involved as well, there's a couple of parade opportunities that we could do as well. And you got to understand, in Australia, they don't do marching men at all in the way that we do in the States. And so it's very much of a, oddity is not the right word, novelty, that's a much better word. It's sort of a novelty, so people kind of come out to see it. And if we do one of the parades, those happen in the tourist-heavy areas as well, so there'll be a crowd there. So hopefully, day 7, Saturday, is at the Australian football game. If not, one of a couple of different parade opportunities we would have. Day 8, Sunday the 30th. This day is left free for Family Day. Your host family will plan something special after getting to know you and your likes and dislikes. It could be shopping, hiking, visiting friends, or just sightseeing. So here's the thing. This is one that I question the organizers a lot about. I said, look, okay, we're coming from a long way away. We're going to come over there. And I would assume, you know, we're going to take a lot of students. I would assume that we're probably going to have a large number of parents that are going to want to go to be involved in this too, just to share this experience. And so how do I tell them, you know, hey, here's about 2/3 of a day where they're just going to whisk your kids away and do something. And so what he said was, he said, you know, that comes up, and he said, obviously it's a concern. And he said, we don't mandate this to the host families, but he said, typically, once the host families learn that the child's parent is there for this family day, they almost always invite the parent. Now, if your child doesn't tell the host family that you're there, I can't help that. Right. What? I don't even have parents. What are you talking about? But usually, they say, it's not something that we necessarily mandate to those folks. But he said just about 100% of the time, the host families learn that the parents are there. They want them involved in that too. So that's where are we? We're on Sunday. Is Family Day with the host family. The evening will likely be a joint concert with us and with our host school band or orchestra, and it's more likely probably to be an orchestra, along with a typical Australian sausage sizzle or potluck dinner. And they put typical, like I know what a typical dinner is in Australia, but a great night and kind of a great way to wrap it up. Plus, the performance where, again, as part of the cultural exchange opportunities, we get to hear them perform, they get to hear us perform. Depending on how it all shapes up, maybe even performing something together and doing the potluck dinner. And then day 9, Monday, again, you'll go to school with your host student this morning, but this time you have to go to say goodbye, back to the airport, back across the international date line. So we leave on Monday, and 24 hours later we arrive on Monday, and we time traveled again, and we're back. Yeah. And I will tell you, I actually went to Japan once, several years ago, flying back, and like leaving Japan and arriving in Chicago at the same time on the same day. It was a really weird experience. But I survived it. So obviously, this far out, there'll be some tweaking to that itinerary, but the high points are all there. Maybe some additions, maybe some subtractions, some things to get moved around. But that gives you a very good idea of what the trip itself looks like. The next page, just general info. The currency exchange is just about 1-to-1. It's a little bit in our favor right now. So as of a few weeks ago, an American dollar is worth about $1.07 or 8 cents in Australia. So it's almost 1-to-1, a little bit in our favor. How's the weather? If you know your geography, in the summer it's winter time there. But here's the thing, okay? We talked about this, and typically high temperatures, I don't know if it says this on here, it doesn't, but you're talking an average high temperature in the winter there. It's going to be upper 60s. It's going to be very similar to what it is right now. By the way, I actually looked today in Sydney, Australia. It was a little bit warmer there right now than it is here. Of course, we're flip-flopping. But it's going to be much like a day like we enjoyed today. It's going to be high 60s, about 70 probably on average, probably into the 40s, maybe low 40s at night. Most of the Australian folks don't own a heavy coat in the way that we do. So even though we're going over there in their winter time, and part of that first day is spent on the beach, for us, it's not going to be like what we would consider winter time. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cooler there than it is here in June and July, but nothing like what we associate with winter. So, in terms, we get a little farther along in the process. We talk about packing. The big winter coat is not part of it, but it's there. The did you knows, I'm not going to read all that. You can read it. The cool one is that the water goes the other way down the drain. All right. The next day, the next trip, the next page is the Australia homestay program. Now, I'm not going to read all of those paragraphs to you. I do want you to take some time and read this at home. And I want to spend time here. High school students' parents have already heard this, and apparently several of them have come to terms with it. But here, in 8th grade parents, you're hearing this for the first time, and you're probably, I would hope, you're a little bit skeptical about it. And so I'll tell you that for those of you guys that don't know me, my nature is skeptical. And so when the organizer is telling me about this, I'm going, you know what? This sounds great. I don't know how I convinced our parents that this is a good idea. Part of me is thinking there's a little bit of a precedent for it, because I know that church youth groups will do this sometimes and go somewhere for a mission trip, and they do homestay programs, and sometimes small college groups will come through. A college choir band will come through and they do a homestay program, but that's not on a different time. Yeah, and I have too, and I've hosted college choir students at our house before, but it's something about if I was saying, okay, I'm going to take your child to Texas and we're going to do a homestay program versus I'm taking your child to a different continent and we're doing a homestay program. So I just don't know how this settles in with the parents. And so here's what he told me. He said, we've been doing it at the time that I was talking with him. He said, we've been running the festival for 22 years. He said, it's the only way that we've ever done it. And he said, I will tell you that without fail, the homestay program for the students becomes the highlight of the trip. He said that we have students from the first festival 22 years ago that are still in contact with their host families, and both the student and the families 22 years later.